Well, hey, welcome back, kids. Got a little bit different one for you today. Almost didn't record it, and I thought, hey, you know what? Somebody might get some use out of this because it's a little bit out there. But we're going to make a transmission cooler mount out of leftover barbecue grill parts. So definitely hang around and check this out. It is dare to be different for sure. Let's go. All right, well, here's what we're starting with. And you're saying to yourself, wow, that looks like a piece of junk. Well, you're right. It was definitely laying in my trash pile, ready to get rid of it. But it's going to suit the bill pretty well. And I think I know when we're done with it, you won't recognize it. The big thing, I guess, how this is going to work, or the idea, is more or less doing this one-handed, folks. We'll set this down in here in the space in front of the radiator. You can see that there's a cross member down there. We'll sit on the back side of that. Definitely, no, it's hard to see. We'll get a better shot here in a second. And it's going to be going straight up, and allows it to point to match that. As you can see, it's way taller than it needs to be, so I'm going to do a couple things right now. I'm going to cut it down to where it'll fit into that space and behind the top of the core support here. And then on the bottom end, whichever I choose, it's symmetrical. We'll cut a couple of these rungs down to where there's basically like pins sticking out here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill holes in the bottom straight down into that core support and put grommets in them, and then this will just slide in, just kind of pin down in those holes, and then on the top end here, we'll wherever it comes out, we'll just fasten it up to the top some way, strap it, or make some tabs and bolt it in there. In the middle section, where the cooler's actually going to mount, we'll cut a bunch of these bars out of here, because this thing doesn't need a whole lot of strength. It's pretty rigid right now. If you think about it, it's holding up, 5-10 pounds of meat or something on a barbecue grill. It doesn't need to do any of that. We're loading it in a different direction, and two, those coolers, I mean, the one I got, I doubt if it weighs a pound. I mean, the heaviest thing on it's probably the AN fittings that I put on the end of it. So we just need to keep it, supported, which would be pretty easy because we got these rails going up the side here that just work out perfectly. The core of that cooler is the width of this rack right here. So we can attach it right outside the core. We'll cut this area all open, which probably don't even need to do, but I'm just going to take as much weight out of it as I can. And so when it's done, you'll have a couple rails on across the bottom, a couple rails across the top for support. Slide right in there, pop it out. I mean, so if I ever need to take the radiator out, I won't need to really disturb that cooler mount at all. Disconnect the transmission cooler hose from the radiator, slide it on out, and if I need to take the transmission cooler itself out, or the external cooler out, auxiliary cooler out, take a couple connectors off at the top, disconnect the hoses on it, and pull it right out of there. No problem. So they're kind of almost independent of each other. It'd be kind of hard to get it out without taking the radiator out, but how often would you really need to do that? The way I had it before is, like I said, it was attached to the radiator, so you had to disconnect the transmission fluid connectors, and it was just a big hassle, and you end up breaking stuff. And I don't like it attached to the core of the radiator too. I feel like over time that's going to vibrate and fatigue, and on this right here, it'll, they're totally independent, so it won't affect it at all. So having said all that, we'll cut it up, and you'll be able to see a little bit more what we're going to do with it. There's that cross member. You can see the little saddles for the radiator. Goes in front of it. I couldn't see it when I had the rack in there before, but right here there's a lip out the front here. I can put holes right in that. It'll be right on the front side of that. You see somebody's notched that out for whatever reason. Before I got it, previous owner did some unusual modifications, but super dirty. So we'll probably clean it up before we put it all back together. But you know, like any hot rod, they tend to get taken apart again and again and again, and I'm sure that's going to happen with this one. Okay, here's what I ended up with. Cut most of the middle of this out here. As you can see, I did leave the center rail. I probably could have gotten rid of it completely, but I felt like it gave it some rigidity. Kind of stay a little further out here. And I changed my mind. I was going to leave these two outer rails out and use them to kind of slide into some holes, and I thought, you know, this will support itself just on the center, and I'll just attach it to the top. So I just left this one loose here. Put some rubber tube hose over this, and that'll give us some vibration isolation, and then we'll just put two mounts on the top here after we mount the cooler to this open area here. I mean, realistically, you could probably have left them all on there because the amount of blockage that this would cause there going through the cooler is just so minimal, but I cut them out, and it's super rigid, and it took some weight out of it too. I mean, right now this thing's like 1.5 pounds. So if you're wondering, you know, hey, that seems kind of heavy to throw in the front of the car, it's really not. It's really, really rigid. I mean, it take quite a bit to bend it, and it doesn't weigh a whole lot. So I'll mount that cooler up there and put some of the tube on the bottom, or at least mock something up here and show you how it's going to work on the end, because we're just about done with this thing. Well, here you go. Got it mounted up to the frame there. You can see that. Just pretty basic. Some really heavy duty cable ties, zip ties on there to hold it on, but you could do something else if you wanted. Basically, just cut a piece of fuel hose off of that, stuck it on here. I'll probably glue it in place so it doesn't fall off. But this was used, of course, and you can see the finish of it isn't the greatest. So you could take this, you know, a lot farther than I have. I wanted to put some like truck bed liner on it to kind of give it a texture and hide some of the rough edges it had, and I turned out I didn't have any, so I ended up using Plasti Dip that was red, and then spray painted it black, and I thought the black was a little more of a satin or semi-gloss, and it's kind of shiny, so doesn't look exactly what I wanted, but hey, it's clean, it's simple. I mean, this thing, you know, I'm holding this up with one hand right now. It doesn't weigh much, and I can just pop it right out of there. I'll show you how it hooks in. Okay, I just slid this down that one peg that had the fuel hose on it. I just slid it down in the hole. It's kind of balancing on that right now. As you can see, you know, I got plenty of room out here to make my connections to my AN fittings, and then run through this hole in the core support and out up into the steel transmission cooler lines. You know, or in and out of the radiator, and then one into the cooler lines as it is, you know, so they got both coolers hooked up. Really, all that's left to do is to anchor it at the top, and you know, there's a million ways to do that too. You could just keep it simple and really just kind of cable tie it to the top if you wanted, you know, or put a bolt in the strap or whatever you really want it to do. It just needs to keep it from moving around. It isn't going to take much to secure it. I may get trick here and put some Zeus fasteners or something. There's some holes in here already for something else. I don't know, but we'll get it mounted in there so I can get the lines cut, the AN lines cut, and get it plumbed. And then now, if I want to take the radiator out, I don't really have to disturb this at all. It sits in there, and you really can't see it. You know, one of the grills is busted in the Firenza, but it's pretty much hidden back in there. And when I put my replacement grill in there, you'll never know it's there, and be a nice solid mount, and perfectly functional. And you know, it really didn't take me too long to make it. And if you started with you know, an oven grill, or maybe even a brand new one from you know, hardware store replacement grill, you know, you don't even really probably have to paint it. You know, you just touch it up and let it rip. So there it is. Well, hey guys, I hope you got something out of that one. Kind of a simple one, and you know, didn't really go into a whole lot of details because there's so many different ways that you could make that, make it better, make it simpler, and it's virtually free. You know, if you got one laying around, and they're all the time sitting out at the curb somewhere, so you know, people are throwing away, and you just pick one up. Don't cost nothing, and make it suit your needs, and you know, kind of super durable, and doesn't really you know, hurt anything to experiment it and do something different with it. And hey, you know, it's reuse, recycle. That's what I like to do, and definitely work it into your project if you can. And thank you for watching. Appreciate that. Always do that homework. Like, subscribe, share. Not necessarily in that order. Please comment, like that too. And we'll see you next time on Smith Motorworks. Thanks.